She is one of the top flyweight fighters in the world, and I think we're finally going to get to see her back in action sooner than later. It is my great pleasure to welcome in today Maycee Barber. Maycee, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Yes,
I'm
finally.
fan- I'm fantastic. Thank you for taking the time. Let me just start with that. Like the excitement, is it already starting to build? December, getting the comeback. I know it's been a long time. Like, has the anticipation already started growing?
Oh my gosh. You have no idea. I am so excited. The anticipation's coming, obviously. And it's just really like it's really just this feeling of just like I'm just like I just wanted to be here already and just like that confidence, like that feeling of like, oh, this is it. Like I could just feel it in everything in me. So I'm just ready and I'm excited and I'm just ready for all the fans to be able to see it again.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know I'm gonna ask you a very big question to kind of kick things off, but I gotta ask, like, can you wrap your head around this last like year and a half of your life? Because obviously, you're on this great win streak. You beat a former title contender in Caitlin Chukagian, and you're on this run. You get that Rose Namajunas fight, looks like probably a number one contenders fight, and then life happens, and we know. So, can you kind of wrap your head around like what this last year and a half has been like for you?
Yeah, it's been one of the most challenging things I think I've had to face as far as like career wise because there's been several times where I've sat down like I'm not gonna lie, I've sat down in the kitchen or like in the living room and I've just cried and I've been like, look, I've never felt so close yet so far. Like it's just a complete like what the heck, because I've in my career and in my performances, when I'm able to perform and I go out and I do what I know I'm capable of doing, it's like I can feel the belt. I can feel it, I can see it, I can taste it, I can smell it, I can all of those things. Like I can just tell that it's like it's right there, and I'm like it's at the tip of my fingers. But at the same time I'm like then life happens and I'm like part of me, like, especially in the last situation, I'm like, am I gonna be able to fight again? Like, am I gonna be able to walk out again? Like, what's going on? Like, and not having those answers and not having that understanding, I'm just like, what in the world? I'm so close and yet feeling so far, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm so determined and so like, this is where I'm going, and in my mind, I'm like, there's no other path for me except for that belt, and so, um it's just one of the where I'm like, okay, just tell me what I got to do and I'll do anything. I just have to make it out there. I have to fix all of this. And so, um, for people who are watching, whether they're like the supporters or the haters, I'm just like, I just want you guys to be able to see what I can feel, like it's just, I can feel the time is coming.
Absolutely. When a fighter deals with an injury, like injuries suck. There's no doubt about it. If you blow an ACL, like it's a horrible injury, but you kind of know what you're dealing with. Like I know I'm going to be
Right.
out 9 months to a year. I'm going to recover and I'm going to come back. And in medical science these days, like a torn ACL isn't nearly what it once was, like a decade or two ago. But your medical situations, like dealing going back to 2024, you were in the hospital for I think 9 days. You were given updates, and I remember seeing an interview you talked about like they never truly figured out what happened. And then obviously we know the situation with the Aaron Blanchfield fight a few months ago, where same kind of thing. You're dealing backstage, and I saw an interview. You said like you were warming up, and next thing you remember, you're in the ambulance.
Yeah.
Is it that much scarier and that much harder to deal with when it seems like, and maybe you have gotten answers. Obviously, I'll ask you that question, but like when you don't know, like you don't, like if you blow an ACL, you're like, okay, I get surgery, I'm back in a year. I know it sucks, but I'm back in a year. What you've been dealing with, it sounds like just like a mystery, and there's been no real answer.
Yeah. I mean, I have gone through the ACL phase too. When I tore my ACL, I was like, okay, yeah, you're going to be out for a year, but like, here's the steps, here's the game plan, here's you can see the progress. You get to see the rehab, you get to go to PT, you get to go to all these things, and you have like a kind of a clear progression, of your recovery and how it looks. But yeah, this situation is like, I remember when I was getting ready to fight Rose, and I was in Denver, and I remember talking with some of the people at the PI and the doctors and everybody, and they're like, "Look, we don't know, but you'll probably be out for like a year. You might need at least a year." And so I took the year off, and I did all of the things that I was told that, hey, you need to reset your body, and we need to, because coming out of the hospital, I had been on like you said, I didn't have any answers. I had been on several like I think it was like 15 different rounds of antibiotics through IVs. And so that alone messes with your body and you don't know what the effects are of that. And then it's like you have to recover from all of that. And then on top of that, it's like I come out of the hospital and I'm trying to build back and I get a camp and I get a fight. And then all of a sudden we're like, okay, you might be out for longer because your body was still sick, but you can't see it. It's not something you're like, oh yeah, I see something on my arm and I'm hurt. You know, it's something, it's invisible. And you, although like we can feel it, it's like as an athlete and as fighters, again, like we push our bodies through so much. And so it's like if you just feel tired, it's like, oh, you're just a little tired, just push through and then, you know, rest later or whatever it is. And so for me, it's like I'm a very stubborn person, and when I feel tired, I'm like, oh, it's just, I'll just be good. You know, it's probably just the elevation. I was just training here. I just moved to Denver, all this stuff, you know, and fast forward and they're like, no, you have mono, you're really sick. Like you can't, like you can't even train. Like you have an enlarged spleen, you could get punched in the body and you could rupture and you could die. Like those are kind of things that like when you hear that, you're like, wait, that's not true, you know? And so those kind of things are weird. But they're invisible. You can't see them. And then fast forward to when I was fighting Aaron, it's like getting ready for everything and preparing, and I'm doing everything that I feel like I'm required to do and I've known to do, and I've prepared for fights, several fights. You know, I've had so many different fights in the UFC. It's like I know the process. I know what it takes and all of the things that I need to do, and um then something like that just happens and it's like I don't know what this is, you know, like I don't know how to deal with this. And it's very difficult and very challenging. But luckily, you know, having the UFC behind me and having everybody there, it's like they were like, okay, we're gonna get on top of this. And so they sent me to the best neurologist. I went to Boston and worked with them, and you know, we did scans and testing and everything. And although they didn't have like a clear, hey, this is why it happened, this is what happened, and this is exactly like word for word, um you know, there's a lot of different pieces that were put together, and they're like, okay, we might not have the exact pinpoint, this is what you have and this is the reason why you have it, but we have a solution, you know. And so the solution that they gave me and that I started doing, I mean, it's worked so far, and it's been able to allow me to train and do everything that I need to do to prepare for this fight. And I feel amazing. You know, I'm in great shape and I'm in a great mental space, and I feel amazing. So I'm really just excited to go out and showcase that.
Absolutely. I don't want you like I'm not going to sit here and ask you to give your entire medical history because I know the mystery of what you were dealing with and you just didn't get answers. But now that you've gone and seen the specialists and everything, do you feel like whatever has happened, I don't want to say fixed forever, but do you feel like you've come out on the other side? Like where you're at now, do you feel like you're in a much better place to get ready for a fight in December versus, I mean, I know because you've talked about it. I remember seeing your interview right after the fight got canceled with Aaron. You're like, I felt good. Like I was ready to go. And then just boom, something happened backstage and you're passed out and in an ambulance again.
Yeah, no, I feel great. Honestly, I feel different. Like there could have been things that like I said, I don't know for sure because like as athletes, I feel like we push through so much and we put our bodies through so much, and so it's like whether you have a little bit of fatigue or whether it's like something going on, it's like you never really know, you know. Especially when you're in like the deep into a camp. So, you know, there could be things that maybe I was just thinking was a normal life for me in a normal camp, and I could have been ignoring some little signals that were like, hey, this is could be, you know, this could be something more. And then you know, unfortunately the situation that happened. But right now it's like I feel great. You know, we've been running labs, we've been doing testing, we've been doing like we've been monitoring everything, like and just tracking everything, and you know, from sleep and training and recovery and just blood work and everything, and making sure that everything's dialed in. And also like weight wise, because I know a lot of people have asked, they're like, is this contributed to the weight cut? And truthfully, I did not believe that any of that was contributed to the was because of the weight cut. But one of the other things is like we're tracking everything, and so you know, I'm walking around a lot, just in a different like physique and like a different like weight, and my body is just like, I think my body is in this state of like calm and like healthy, and when your body's like not okay and then when it's okay, but like my body's like, oh no, this is good, like this is what we were created to do, this is like what she's meant to do. And I think I can just feel it. And so like I said, I just feel really good right now.
Forgive the stupid question, but I remember when you might remember this. A few years ago, Jeff Neal got really sick and he went in the hospital. He had sepsis and all this other stuff. Kind of a similar situation. Like the doctors really had no idea what happened, but he got really, really ill. And he had told me, I think it was like a couple of fights later, he's like, I was still feeling that. Like I didn't realize like how much it hit me until like even a couple of fights later. Like I was still actually recovering. The situation in 2024, you talk about like the mono and everything, like did that contribute? Do you know, did the doctors know, did that contribute to like what actually ended up happening with the ambulance? Like, was it still lingering effects of that and it just kind of like kicked in again? I don't know if that's even connected.
That's a good question. I mean, I've talked to several people, I've talked to some doctors, and I mean, I don't know if there's like a necessarily an answer, but from my opinion and what I've kind of gathered, again, I'm not a doctor. But kind of from what I've noticed with my body and my healing and everything, I think it is a little, it has to be somehow related because when you're on so many different IV antibiotics and you have a infection in something that you don't know what it is, it's a foreign thing and your body's fighting it, and then all of a sudden your body's being pumped with a bunch of different antibiotics. And I mean, my discharge papers were, I think it was like 400 or 500 pages long. And so when you have all of those different things like that your body's like been introduced to in a foreign way, it's like you don't know how your body's going to react. And I was actually talking to another coach, who's really well respected, and who I respect a lot. And we were talking about how he had a very similar infection, and he got antibiotics. And then after the antibiotics, is like ever since then, his blood pressure's been really weird. And so one of the things that I've had issues with now, and since being out of the hospital, I've never had this in my life, is one of the things that I've had to have fixed is my blood pressure. And so after being on antibiotics, my blood pressure does not stay above like the 80s over, I don't know what the numbers are, but it was extremely low and they didn't know why. And so that was one of the things that we've had to address. And blood pressure is very important in functioning, and it's very important as a woman, and it's very important when like your cycle and cutting weight and all of those things. So blood pressure regulation is important. And so I think that if I had to say, if I think it was related, I do think it was related to the infection and being in the hospital. um and just like a lingering thing of like your body's been through so much, and then you have a bunch of IVs and everything pumping you full of things that your body doesn't know and recognize. And so that would be my guess, but again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a specialist, and I don't have an exact like, oh yeah, this is what it is. And unfortunately, people don't like not having answers, and I hate not having answers. So it's a very frustrating thing, but at the end of the day, I think that we can all just kind of agree that I'm like, it's just nice to be back.
Yeah. Well, kind of a two-part question that like like when you're going through all this, is there ever a point in the back of your mind where you kind of go to those dark places where you're like, maybe I'm never going to fight again? And then part two of that question is, obviously, we're doing this interview today because you booked a fight, and leading to December, you're probably going to answer these questions 1,000 times because obviously you've had the issues. But how excited are you just to be able to like fight and move beyond that to where you're not constantly answering questions about your health?
Yeah, I think that to answer the two-part question, there is always that spot where it's like, am I going to be able to do this again? Like knowing what I want and what I have set for myself as far as like goals and dreams and plans, and knowing that like it's not necessarily always in my hands. It's really been a lesson, and it's really been something where it's like, okay, you really have to learn that it's not in our hands, it's in God's hands. And I have to really allow that to be something. I have to be able to let go of the things that I cannot control and just trust that there's a plan. And so I believe that there is a bigger plan and a bigger purpose. And I've been through so much in my life, from things that happened to me as a kid to the medical situations that I've had to deal with as a professional fighter, being this close to the belt. I've had a lot of challenges thrown at me, and I think that it's really just a testament of faith and your determination towards your goals and your dreams, and just remembering Trevor Whitman actually asked me, he was like, what's your why? He asked me this when I was like 17, I think. And I never really could answer that question at first because I was just like, oh, I don't know how to answer this. But now it's like I know what my why is, and I know that despite all of the things that I've gone through, it's like as long as I hold on to that why, I'm going to be able to accomplish anything that I set out to. And it might take me until I'm 30, it might take me until I'm 28, it might take me, however long, but I know that it's something that I'm going to be able to do. And so it's just one of those things where it's like I'm just going to keep doing what I need to do and what I know is best for me, and pushing forward and do the next right thing, and I know that I'll have that belt wrapped around my waist. And then as far as having a fight booked, I am very excited. I feel like this is the perfect matchup for me to showcase that and to just continue on with like this is my momentum, this is my time. Although it's been 18 months or however long it's been for me of having a layoff, like this is my time to shine, and this is my fight where I get to go out and get a dominant finish and a dominant win and just solidify my spot in either this fight or the next fight being my title run.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that because like I obviously everyone remembers you came into the UFC so young and right away your goal, you're like, I want to be the youngest champion. Now that's a tough goal to accomplish. But the crazy thing is you've been out 18 months, obviously everything that's happened, you're 27. Like do you take that perspective of like in a weird way? I know it's a very weird way to look at it, but like this all happened when you're still very young. Because this is a tough
Mm.
situation if you're like 32, 33, maybe in that point in your career, you're barely like right in the prime of your athletic career at 27, which is kind of
I
weird.
know people tell me that all the time, and I'm like, dang, yeah, that is true. Like I really have. Like I've been able to grow up in the UFC, and it's been something where I'm like I always have that sense of urgency of like, oh, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go, you have to go. But at the same time I'm like I'm 27, and like I look at some of these people that are just getting signed, and I'm like they're in their 30s and they're in their 20 like later 20 like 28, 29, 30, and I'm like wow, like I'm right there. And so I just have to remind myself of that sometimes because I do have that like oh you have to go, but at the same time uh I was like, damn, I was signed to the UFC at 20, and I'm like, I'm 27. I'm like, this has been 7 years. I'm like, and I haven't accomplished everything that I've set out to accomplish yet. So really it's just it's kind of like the two different feelings that I get, of like, wow, I am really young still, and I'm right there with everybody else, but at the same time I'm like, damn, I really gotta hurry. Like I have these things that I have to accomplish and all these goals and these dreams, and it's like I gotta get these girls out of my way. So that's just kind of like the two-part feeling that I have.
Yeah, and I know the Aaron Blanchfield fight was kind of perfect at the time because it seemed like that was going to be a number one contenders fight. We really didn't have a number one contender at that point. Now we know, and I will ask you in a minute about Zhang Wei Li and Valentina because obviously you have interest in that fight. But that seemed like the perfect fight. Now coming back in December, Karine Silva, Fighting Nerds, obviously a very good fighter. And I looked at the rankings; you guys are right around each other. Were you like? I know you would. I'm sure you would have gladly pre-booked the Aaron Blanchfield fight or even the Rose Namajunas fight, the one you missed out last year. But were you happy that coming back you still got like a highly ranked opponent that's still going to matter when you win, that's going to kind of put you right back in the position where you were? Because the world we live in, they could have said, we're going to give you the number 16, number 15, you got to kind of prove us, all that kind of stuff. Were you happy that they still gave you another top ranked fighter with a chance to kind of get right back to where you were before?
Yeah, I believe that the UFC, I mean, they've always treated me very well, and they've always done, an amazing job at matching up fights. And when Mick offered me this opponent, it was like I've never said no to an opponent, and I know that he has a plan, and we've had a great conversation, and one of those things is also just like I don't think I have to prove myself. Like I know I don't have to prove myself. I've proven myself my entire career. Unfortunately situations happen where these were out of my control, but it's not something where I'm like, oh yeah, I chose to not fight, or I chose to just quit in a fight, or anything where it's like they have a reason to doubt me. I'm like, I don't believe that anyone has a reason to doubt me. If anything, I'm like, you guys have a reason to just continue to cheer for me, because I'm like, look, I am not going to take no for an answer. I'm just going to keep coming back. And I'm like, it doesn't matter what life throws at me. I'm going to keep coming until I get that belt wrapped around my waist. And so, I know that the UFC knows that, and I know that they believe that. And, I know that they believe that I will be a great champion. And so, I think that, the plans that they have and the people that the girls that they have me matched up with is like, it's what I need and it's what they need and it's the right thing for the right time and place, And so um we'll see what happens with other fights, but this opponent is a perfect win for me to get a dominant finish and again to continue on the win streak that I have and just solidify that shot for the belt.
I'm sure beyond anything else, you're just happy to talk about fighting again and not
Yes.
going on. Can I ask your opinion on that Valentina Zhang Weili fight? Because it is interesting. Like everyone I've talked to, the flyweights I've talked to have said Zhang Weili is incredible, but as good as she's been, it is taking a big step up to come to flyweight. And Valentina, we all know, is a monster. So I'm curious what you think about that fight, and do you lean one way or the other when it comes to picking? Because obviously you have a vested interest in potentially facing the winner of that fight.
Absolutely. I mean, when you look at that fight and it's like you see both those girls, you're like, those are two of the most respected women in the flyweight and the strawweight division, because they are where they are. They've worked their butts off to get to where they're at, and they're very skilled and very dominant at what they do. It'll be interesting to see the weight move up, but at the same time, I'm like, Valentina doesn't walk around very big, she doesn't cut a lot of weight. So it's tough because Weili she's not small, she's not tiny. It's like she's a good sized girl that um it'll be a interesting matchup as far as like weight and size. And then I've said this before, Valentina, I feel like when she respects someone a lot, she is a little bit more hesitant and a little bit more like patient, which is her style and her game plan. But I'm just interested to see if Weili is going to fight the same way or if Weili is going to take the fight to her. And Valentina has that precision where someone comes in and they're rushing in, she's going to catch them. So I don't know which way I'm going with that fight because it's such a back and forth. Would Weili just walk through her? Or was Valentina going to do what she does best and just manage the distance and strike and just pick her apart? But at the same time, I'm like, I just want it to be an exciting fight, which I believe it can be, but I also believe that it can be one of those fights where it's like, okay, it goes to the decision and it's a little bit of a lackluster fight for us. And so I want to see those girls go out and do what they do best. And I think that when Valentina's on her game and she's the best, she's amazing. And I think that when Weili is on her best, she's amazing. And so I think it'll be really cool to see that fight and that matchup. And to be honest, I don't care who wins because I know I'm coming for that belt next.
I love it. I love it. I know this, at the end of the day, your goal is, UFC 323, walk in that cage, beat the crap out of Karina Silva, and just get back on track. But
Yep.
are you operating under the mindset that, with an impressive win, you are either next or at worst one more fight away from, because that's where you were, like when you were on your run right before everything happened. I mean, you take out Amanda Hebus, you take out Caitlin Chukagian, like you were right there, like and I know you're probably like, I know that too, man. I've been talking about it, but like, is it probably,
No, yeah.
you win in December, at worst you're one more fight away, or potentially even right next, depending on what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, anything can happen, injuries, sicknesses, pullouts, whatever, anything can happen. So, with this win and with this finish, it's like I'm right there. So, they call me and they're like, "Hey, we need you to fight." It's like I'll be ready, and it's like it's a very fitting thing. I'm on a huge win streak and coming off of dominant finishes against great opponents. I believe that solidifies me, and if not, like you said, just one more fight, and it's like I have the belt. So, I'll be happy either way, whether I get to go right to the belt or whether I fight someone like a Rose or Alexa for the contender spot and then, see what's next. But like I said, I'm just going out there. I'm going to go out there and finish this fight. I'm going to dominate out there. I'm going to go out there and shine and have so much fun and show everybody the reason why it's taken me 18 months to get back here. And then, just solidify my spot at the belt.
And last thing, I'm gonna get you out of here on this. I know visualization is a big part of fight. I always ask this question before going to a championfight. Like, do you allow yourself that moment of feeling like what it's gonna feel like to have the belt, and that moment? for you, can I ask, like, do you allow yourself just a moment of visualization, like knowing what it's going to be like walk in that arena again? And by the way, I'm glad you're getting a crowd this time. No offense to the Apex, it's just not the same. I'm glad you get to. So, like, when you hit that curtain and you walk through, your music hits, and the crowd goes nuts. Like, do you allow yourself just a minute to be like, man, I cannot wait for that feeling again because it's been so long and everything you've had to go through to get here. Like, to me, I know the point is to win the fight, but like to me, it's a victory just getting out there. Like, just get after everything you've gone through, just to walk through that curtain and make the walk to the octagon. That's an achievement because you've had a lot to go through to get here. Did you allow yourself a second to be like, oh man, I can't wait for that moment?
Absolutely. You gave me goosebumps. You're saying that. I'm like, oh, I'm getting chills over here. No, I do. I think about it a lot and I agree. I mean, the Apex has been a great thing for the UFC and for everybody, but as far as like a fighter goes and wanting to feel the energy of a crowd and wanting to have the fans get behind it.
You know.
Are we good? Okay. I said sorry, my phone overheated.
No,
We
no,
were you were on such a good roll and then my phone overheated.
happens to me all the time. Trust me, I understand. I'll just restart that so you can.
No, it's all good.
Obviously, we're just asking about like that feeling of walking through the curtain. I'll let you go because obviously, yeah, I was trying to give you goosebumps.
Well, you did it. Yes, you did it. Yeah, you gave me goosebumps. What I was saying was that, to me, it's like I get to not just have this fight for myself, but I get to finally being able to fight in front of a crowd. It's like I get to have those 18 months of waiting and that 18 months of like the ups and the downs and all of that stuff and all the people that are following along, whether they're following along to see me win or following along to see me fail. It's like I get to share that experience and that walkout with everybody else, and the Apex is cool, but for me, it's like I can't wait to go through the T-Mobile Arena and walk through and have every single person be like, "That's right, she's back," like that feeling. And so that's what I'm like just excited for, and I'm just like I can feel it already, and I'm very excited for that feeling.
I almost feel bad for Karina Silva that she's got to be the one that's standing there with you that night, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a great night, but probably not so much for her.
I love it. Well, Maycee, the sport is a better place with you in it. For a lot of people, like myself included, who felt like you were going to be a champion one day, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're healthy. I like I said, I'm so. And by the way, let's plan on doing a post-fight interview where I won't have to
Yes.
ask you a single question about your medical history. We just don't.
That would be great. Let's plan on it. I would love that.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate it. Have a great training camp. And let me just say this sincerely, cannot wait to see you back in December.
Thank you. I appreciate it.